and talk about what is authenticity, right? So this is a term that is thrown out a lot, and it's kind of a little bit of a buzzword right now. You know, be your authentic self. And so it sounds a little bit cliche, but I want to really get into it today for you of what does it mean to be authentic and what is the power in being authentic. So authenticity, you can think about it as being who we are when we're unconcerned with judgment, fitting in, or attracting others to us. So when it doesn't matter about what anyone else thinks. Another way of thinking of it is a genuine state of being when what one truly thinks, says, and does are aligned, when you're really congruent. So I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about growing up and the programming that happens as a kid. So we're young and we're really fearlessly authentic when we're young. But what happens along the way? So have you ever seen a kid throw a temper tantrum, right? How authentic is that? Maybe you call it a fanny fit. I hear that sometimes, I don't know. I think it's a funny way to call it temper tantrum. Anyway, so I just want everyone to have, just get a little authentic with me here. And we're all just going to go throw a little temper tantrum, all right? So just like when you see a kid and they don't get their way and they don't get the ice cream or whatever the hell they want, and they just freak out and cry, and then 2 seconds later you see the same kid and they're smiling and laughing at the pool, right? So we're all just going to throw a mini fanny fit, okay? Ready? So everyone, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Wow! You guys, that's amazing. And now we feel better, right? It was just woo, gotta get that out. Yeah! All right. So that is totally authentic. And when kids do that, they are so authentic. They are honoring how they feel. They are honoring their truth. They are honoring their beliefs. And that's real. So what happens along the way? I'm going to share a little picture of little Celeste Faye over there painting her nails. Isn't that cute? Okay. Anyway, so as you grow up, you always hear things like, you're too tomboyish, you're too nerdy, you're too much of a computer geek, you're too girly, you're too fat, you're too thin. But as a kid, you don't really care, but this is programming. It's coming into your subconscious mind. And so there becomes a point in time where you kind of associate with that, of being yeah, I was an awkward kid. I mean, okay, who was an awkward kid? Because I was an awkward kid. I used to when I was 4, I went through the stage of not wanting to wear clothes, and so I'd wear my dad's ties and put on his winter boots and walk around the neighborhood completely nude. That's a little bit awkward, isn't it? I mean, who else was an awkward kid here? Yeah. And all of you who don't have your hands up, you're just kind of lying to yourself because everyone was awkward. We all go through that 10-year-old stage where you look back into your school photos and you're like, that's what I looked like. Ah. Anyway, so if someone once said this to you, it's likely that there's a piece of it that you've held on to ever since. And it keeps you from being able to be back into that authentic self, being able to ring true and find that authenticity. So there's a transition that happens from childhood where you get to be completely authentic. You get to be whoever you want to be. And then into teen years, and what happens there? You look for social acceptance. You look to your peers and mimic and mime and reflect. And if you're a book nerd, then if your friends are book nerds, then you're a book nerd, and yada yada. And then there becomes this time, there's a fundamental shift that has to happen from teen to young adult, where you have to decide, are you going to continue to be what everyone else wants you to be, the way that society says you should be, or are you going to express who you really are? And just to kind of back this point up, I'm not a psychologist. I know we had a positive psychology person over here. I'm not a psychologist, not claiming anything about it. But this Erikson's 8-stage theory actually outlines this. So it goes through the ages of the lifetime and kind of the conflict and resolution aspects that are going on in your life. And I found this quite interesting. When you look at early childhood, we're talking about acceptance of the cycle of life, from integration to disintegration, where you get to just kind of see how you fit into things. And that's where you get to be really authentic. And then in these adolescent years, There's a complexity of life. There's merging of sensory, logical, and aesthetic perception, where you again are shifting into what life is all about, and also like there's this confusion aspect and how to deal with confusion best, but to look to other people to solve your problems rather than looking within to find your own answer. So for our whole lives, from this point forward, being authentic and being really you almost feels like a liability. But what if it was no longer a liability for you, but an asset? Something that you got to hold on to, because there is no one else in this world like you. That is the one thing that you have. No one else can ever take that away from you. So what if you looked at this as an asset now instead of a liability and moved forward in your life with that? How could things change? So, and just talking to my ladies out there, why has this almost been like, I mean, I know guys, this happens for you too, but I'm just like, as women, this is almost a greater challenge for us, because we just nitpick each other. We judge people. Like, okay, let's be honest. When you dress to go out on a weekend, who are you dressing for? A guy or the other women that are going to be out there? Be honest with yourself. Who are you dressing for? Usually the other women, truthfully. Like, yeah, you want to look hot and then you want to get that guy's attention, yada, yada. But like, really you're dressing for other women to get their approval, to be like, oh, well, I look better than she does. That's okay, that's great, right? Like, that's kind of how it goes. So we have this challenge even more to come over and be really authentic of who we are. So I want to get into, how do you find that authentic self? So as people talk about, like, just be who you are, that's a lot easier said than done. So how do you find this authentic voice? How do you find this authentic self? The thing is, it means something different to everyone, and it will serve you different depending on your situation. So if you're in a corporation and you don't feel like it will serve you to be really open and authentic, how can you still be aligned with what you're thinking and what you're saying and what you're doing, and how can you make those things be congruent and aligned in who you are? So it's about turning on this inner light, tapping into who is inside of there, not what the makeup and the clothes and the shoes and not any of that, but who's really inside of there. And tapping into that, getting to really reflect inwards. We always think of with things up in our head. So how about going into the heart, into the body, and finding that inner light? So there's a important distinguishment to, is that a word? I don't think so. I think I just made that up. Distinction. Thank you, the principal over here. Yes. I did go to school. Anyway, so you have to distinguish between this voice of ego and the voice of authentic self. And how do you distinguish between those two voices? And it's a continuous process every day, checking in. Is that the ego or is that the authentic self? And using this process to constantly help you to make decisions. So let's think about an example. So let's say there's this really important job that you're looking to get, and you've got a friend that's kind of your like little bit of a rival, but still an acquaintance. But she's always had like that one edge up on you maybe. And she gets the job, and you're devastated, and you're like, shit, I really needed that job. That bitch got that job, right? Which one is that talking? The ego, right? It's protecting you. The ego tries to protect you. And rather than the voice of authentic self would say something maybe like, well, maybe that job really is meant for her, and this isn't my timing, and that job may have taken me down a completely different path that I'm not meant to go down, and finding some congruence in that. So like I said, it's a continuous process, and some days have better days than others. Some days my ego just takes over and I can't find that authentic voice. And other days I have started to reflect, when am I more effective? And as you practice makes habit, right? So if you practice reflecting, is this ego? Is this authenticity that's speaking here and driving what I'm doing, what I'm saying? So I've found that in my life, in my experience in building relationships and building career and networking, and even just when I'm by myself in my own thoughts. When I listen to this inner feedback and that authentic self, life tends to be easier. I tend to be more graceful, more feminine. I live in my feminine energy rather than in my masculine energy, which serves me better. I am in more power in that place. I have more powerful experiences and relationships and opportunities. I tend to be in flow, right? We spoke about flow earlier. I tend to just feel like I'm moving with grace, like just dancing through life. Like it just feels easier and beautiful. And so that's getting into that authentic self allows you to be along that divine path, along that path that's meant for you, this path that only you and only you have and can create. But when I go against it, I find that I have challenges that leave me asking things like, why me? Why is this happening to me? I feel disconnected from people, from my work, from my purpose. It doesn't seem to, I have angst. Leaves me feeling anxious, and then the ego continues to come in more and more like, oh yeah, well it shouldn't be that way, I'm going to fight against that, and I'm going to go out and do that, rather than stepping back and saying, okay, how is this serving me? How could I have been more authentic in this situation? So how do you become fearlessly authentic? How can you live this in an everyday life? So it's a conscious choice. It's about seeing the benefits of living in this authentic self. So I said practice makes habit, right? So working every single day to be conscious of this voice. Which one is it, the ego or the authentic self? And making that conscious choice to even have that process happen in your mind, rather than going through life without having a second to think about, where am I? I am here. I asked you if you are present today. Are you here? I want you to be here, not where you are in 2 hours. That's a conscious choice for you, right? So this again is a conscious choice for you to decide to listen and distinguish these voices. So living from this place involves being rooted in your deepest beliefs, values, and truth. Getting to know who you are so that you can stand firmly in those decisions. This doesn't always lead to an easy path. This is a picture I went to Laos in January, and we were in the depths of like nowhere. And this is actually a picture from there. And it was a beautiful moment where I was so disconnected from, this is a little bit of a side story, but I was so disconnected from everything. Like we had taken a boat to get there and then hiked 3 hours to get out here, and there are people that lived in this village that like had their chickens and I don't know, I mean, geese and like everything living on their land, in their gardens. And it was just like, I saw this fork in the road and I was like, oh my gosh, how does that represent our life of making a conscious decision of which path you're going to take? And so this path of being your authentic self doesn't always lead to an easy path, but it leads to a fruitful one. And why? Because you'll have peace with yourself. You'll be able to be in that place of congruence, which there is no place that is more peaceful than that place that you can be in. So I want to ask you, are you going to, maybe this is actually an assumption of a question, because you very well are probably on this path of living in that authentic self, but there's a choice of, are you going to continue to play the part that society told you to be, the part that your parents told you to be, that your friends expect you to be? Are you going to play that part? Or are you going to truly live your own life? The one that you design, the one that you make decisions about every day. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, then at the end of the day, who will you be honest with? So if you can't be honest and take a look in of who's inside of there, then who are you going to be able to be honest with? To have a look inside. So I want to ignite this authenticity, right? So we're talking about it. It's all really great in theory, but like, how can I help you to step into this authentic self? So I've got a little bit of a woo-woo side of me, a little bit of the woo-woo like that little spiritual side. So just play with me. This is who I am. I need you guys to accept and love that about me because that's who I am. So I want you to play along with this. And I would love if everyone took a second to close your eyes. We're going to do a little visualization. You don't have to know what visualization even is or the benefits of it or anything. You don't need to know anything. Just follow my directions. So if everyone would just close your eyes with me and begin to allow yourself to go to a very peaceful place. A place that is familiar to you, that's comfortable, that's safe, that you can be just you. And now I want you to begin to picture what you look like in that situation. Maybe you're in your comfy clothes. Maybe you're in your hottest outfit you possibly have. Maybe you're completely naked. Whatever it is for you that you can just be with yourself, I want you to go there. And I'd like you to begin to think about what it feels like to have no judgment in this moment, in this place, where you are completely free. You are free of judgment. You are free to be who you really are. And begin to breathe in what that feeling feels like. Begin to take a deep inhale through your nose, breathing in that feeling, and exhaling that feeling out. And begin to see a mirror reflection of yourself in front of you. A reflection of yourself of a person who always lives in that authentic self, that completely serves them. And that mirror reflection of you is in complete flow, has abundance, has beautiful and loving relationships, has success repeatedly over and over, has achieved the dreams that you have in your life. And I want you to begin to walk closer to that reflection of you. And walk closer and closer until you actually begin to walk into that authentic self, stepping into that authentic person. And now I want you to begin to breathe in that authentic being, having accomplished this, having lived this way, having accomplished the things that you want to do in your life. To have all these things, what does that feel like? And breathe that deep into your soul, deep into your body, understanding that energetic vibration of that person so you can continue to live your life. And now, as you've stepped into this person, I want you to feel that that's who you really are. That person is inside of you. That person is there, always has been, and has been patiently waiting for you to tap into it. Waiting to awaken and live that joyous life. I want to share a poem with you from Marianne Williamson. She says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And begin to breathe in that idea that as you step into this authentic self, you're giving everyone around you in this room and anyone who you come in contact with in your life, you have given them permission to live in their authentic selves as well. So I'd like to end this as you softly open your eyes again. And I'd like for you to begin to look around at everyone around you. Look at your neighbor. See them in their authentic light. See them for who they really are in this authentic self. And we're going to empower this authenticity for everyone to move forward in this new authentic self. So we're going to say together, let's get real, and then let's get really fearlessly authentic. And we're going to do that together, okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's get real. Let's get really fearlessly authentic. Woo, that's it.